Welcome to the first pattern tutorial of 2021. It feels good to be in a new year. It feels good to be creating content and videos for you all. So we are going to dive right into today's video, and I'm teaching you the basics of how to make the January blanket. Now this is great for beginners. It requires a big thick yarn like this Bernat baby blanket yarn that I have here and a big thick hook. Now all the details for this pattern are going to be linked down in the description box, so no worries. And as I stated, this is great for beginners, so I'm going to go a little slow. So if you consider yourself not necessarily beginner, you kind of already have the rundown of the basics of crochet, no worries, you can skip ahead a little bit, but I'm going to walk those beginners through just to set them up for success. So here we go, we have our yarn, and the first thing we got to do is we got to make a slip knot. Now, there's tons of different ways to do this, and this is the way that I always teach my students in person. This is the way that I've taught my children. You take your yarn and you put your tail on the left side. Now, this is what's connected to your ball, or would otherwise be called your working yarn. So what we do is we hold it like this, just kind of pinch it. And then you're going to take these two fingers and kind of slide them here. And then you're going to turn just one rotation, bend down and grab that working yarn and pull up your loop just like that. And then as you get ready to insert your hook, you grab that working yarn and just kind of pull it, not too tight, against your hook, and you are ready to start crocheting. So once we've got the yarn on the hook, now what we're going to do is create a foundation chain. And this is really, really simple, but it is absolutely the most important part of your project. If you mess this up, you're likely going to have issues with your project, okay? So to begin, we yarn over. Now, in the very beginning, please be patient with yourself, because realize your hands are learning something new. So they kind of fumble about and don't quite know how to hold stuff, and you just feel like you're doing this number and hands are, that's okay. That's all a part of the process, okay? So you're going to take that working yarn, you're going to yarn over, you're going to grab that knot, and don't pull your hook like this. Take your hook, turn it, and let it catch that working yarn. See how it's catching that yarn? And you're going to pull it right on through that loop. Okay? So we're going to do that again. We're going to yarn over. We're going to turn our hook slightly and just pull it right through there. Yarn over, turn our hook slightly and pull it through. And so what is happening is we're creating the base for our January blanket or any crochet project. So we're just going to do that. Now, again, I'm not giving you the exacts in the video of how to make the January blanket. I'm just simply showing you the steps. All of the exacts as far as how many you need to chain and everything like that can be found down below, just so you know. Okay, so from there, we are going to crochet into the second chain from the hook. Now, this is a little challenging to see, but again, to the untrained eye, it's like, I'm just looking at fluff here, but you're going to train your eye, okay? This loop on your hook does not count. And we're talking about the second chain from the hook. If we look at our tail, do you see how it kind of looks a little bit like a French braid? So right here to the left, we have kind of like these humps going along. Okay, or if you have the V, if you're looking at the V, we're looking at this loop over on this side. So here's the first one and here's the second one. So what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet with a yarn under into this second loop, okay? So you stick your hook in and you're going to take your yarn and you're going to wrap it under, pull through and draw up that loop, and then wrap under again and pull through both of those loops, and you've just made your first single crochet with a yarn under. So you go into the next one. Again, we're looking at the V, and a lot of this, when we're working with this really fluffy yarn, a lot of it is by feel. So we're going into the next V, so you can kind of feel those V's as you move along with your fingers. You go into the next one, you insert your hook, do a yarn under, draw up a loop, yarn under, and draw up another loop and pull through both of those. So do it again, insert, yarn under, draw up a loop, yarn under, and pull through 2. I'll do it 2 more times slowly just for you. Insert your hook, yarn under, draw up a loop, yarn under, pull through 2. Insert your hook, yarn under, draw up a loop, yarn under, pull through 2, just like that. And you go all the way to the end of your row. So as you're practicing that, you get all the way to the end of your row, come back, and I'm going to tell you what to do next. Okay, so here we are at the end of our row, and now what we need to do is we need to turn to start the next row. So we turn it, and then we yarn over and draw up a loop, okay? And that is going to count as our first single crochet. And so from then on out, we're going to go underneath those stitches and yarn under, draw up a loop, yarn under, pull through 2, and work ourselves along just like so, all the way across the row. And you're going to do this over and over and over. And if you're making the blanket on the blog, then I will give instructions as to when you need to do color changes. But if you don't do any color changes, or you just want to kind of invent your own, what I'm going to do next is show you how to attach, or at least how I attach a new color on. So make sure that you are putting a stitch in the chain ones of the previous row. So this would be our chain 1. You definitely want to make sure that you don't forget that, and doing so will keep your edges nice and straight. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another color, and I'm going to show you how to attach a new color on. So I've cut my yarn, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to yarn over and pull that all the way through the loop. And then I'm going to turn back and get ready to start. So I'll insert my hook right here into this spot just as a placeholder, and I've got my new multicolored yarn here, and I'm going to make my slip knot just like I did last time. I'm going to stick that on my hook. I'm going to kind of pull it somewhat tight. I like to make sure that my tail is actually on the right side and not on the left. So once I've got that knot on there, I'm just going to go ahead and draw it up, and then I'll yarn over and stitch up 1 stitch. So just like I did a chain 1. And then from there, it's really simple. You just work everything as normal, going along, making sure that you're doing yarn unders rather than yarn overs. That's the aspect of this stitch that gives it such fun dimension. It's a single crochet with a yarn under rather than a yarn over. So really, really simple, as you can see. Don't forget, you want to go into that last chain 1 space. And so there you have a nice, clean, smooth transition with a brand new color. So again, when you get ready to start a row, you just turn it, chain up 1, and then proceed to the root. Proceed along, doing what we've been doing until you are totally done, or till you want to switch colors, or whatever creative ways you want to make your blanket unique. Now, the fun thing about the January blanket is I opted to put a fun faux crochet border on it. So there, we're done with that row, and you would just keep going. So let me show you that crochet border. So here it is. It's this gorgeous, gorgeous faux crochet border. Now this is a little more advanced. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give the basics for how to just add a simple border for my beginners, and then there will be a part 2 of this video that will be linked that you can click on if you are a beginner who's very adventurous and wants to really just dive in and give it a try. Or if you are a crocheter that is just likes to stitch, you've been doing crochet for years and you want to go ahead and learn how to do this border. So there'll be 2 parts to this. One for beginners to just learn how to finish off the edge, and then one for those who are adventurous and want to grow their crochet skills. So I've cut my yarn again and I finished off, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to pretend like we're ready to add a border. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this white yarn right here, and we're going to make a slip knot just like we did. And so this is the beginner crocheter's border. Really, really simple. So you just insert your hook just kind of anywhere along the top row. And you'll want to kind of pull that tight. And just like how when we changed colors, you'll just chain up one. And then we're just going to work regular single crochets all the way around. Just like this. So when you get to a corner, just to help give yourself a nice rounded edge, so you'll just do 1 stitch all the way around. But the thing that's different when you're adding the border is when you get to your corners, you want to do 3 all together. And what this will do is ensure that as you're moving along, you get that nice curved, finished, rounded edge. And then as you're moving along, because we're using this thicker yarn, you basically will have 1 single crochet per row. So if you look, I can tell right here this is a row. So I just kind of put my hook in there. There's a stitch, and then I look again, here's another row. So just kind of shove. Remember, on the sides you don't really like have a designated space. Shove that one, and then here's another row. So just kind of shove my hook in there. And then we get to the corner. Actually, that didn't go where I wanted it to go. So we'll pull that out. Let's try that again. Let's do it right about here. And then when we get to the corner again, we just want to do 3. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then we're going along the bottom. So you just do that all the way around, as you can see. And again, you can kind of like pull stuff out and fix it if you want to make it look more uniform. But you would just do this all the way around. And when you get, unfortunately, I cut that too short. Whenever you get to the spot where you want to finish it off, all you would do is a slip stitch. So like, let's say this is my last stitch. You know, here we're going to pretend like I'm here because I cut my yarn too short. You'll insert your hook, yarn over, draw up a loop, and pull through, and that will slip stitch the stitches together so that they're even, and you don't have to worry about it being like this or being like that. So you would work yourself all the way around, putting 3 in each corner, and then when you get back to here, you would be in this stitch and your start point would be here, and you would lean over to this one and slip stitch it together, and it would be perfect and seamless, and you would not be able to tell. Now, you may notice on this little scraggly piece, I hadn't tied in any of my ends, and I typically do that. I leave them there until I'm done adding my border, because I usually take my ends and kind of use that extra yarn to weave in my border. Weave in my tails around the border just for that extra support and security of the stitches. So if you are wanting to learn how to do this faux ribbing for the January blanket, you can click the link to that video below and check that out. So I hope you like it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Have an awesome, awesome week.